We'll go to the next topic, that is forest and wildlife. Okay. Now all of us know what forests are. They are the biggest biodiversity hotspots. Okay. Now biodiversity means we have got number of species here, which range from bacteria, fungus, ferns, flowering plants, nematodes, insects, birds, reptiles, so on. Okay. So large number of biodiversity is found in forest. Okay. So our main aim is to conserve and preserve this biodiversity. Now let us see, for preserving this, what things we have to think about. The first is the stakeholders. Now what are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are the people who are completely dependent almost on this forests. Okay. So first today we are going to study forest and their stakeholders in detail. Okay. Now we all use the various forest produces, but our dependency on forest resources varies. Some of us access to the alternatives and some do not. That means some of us do not completely rely on forest. It's okay if we get it or we don't get it, but some of them completely rely on forest. They need it every day in their day-to-day life. Okay, so when we consider the conservation, we have to first look at the stakeholders. There are four categories of stakeholders. The first one is those who live in or around the forests. Okay, so they are the first stakeholders who are living inside the forest or around the forest. Okay, next is the forest department of the government, okay, which controls the resources. The third is the industrialists, those who depend on this forest. Like for example, there are some leaves known as tendu leaves, which are used for making beads in the with paper mills and all such things. So these are the industrialists who are also stakeholders. And the last one are the wildlife and the nature enthusiastic, who conserve this nature in its pristine form. So these are the four stakeholders who indirectly depend on the forest. Let us see them one by one. Okay, just turn the page. The first one, that is the persons who live around the forest. Okay, now they are the local people who need large varieties of firewood, small timber and thatch. Okay, now bamboo is used for making the slat of the huts, baskets for collecting and storing food materials. Then you have got implements of agriculture, fishing, hunting, okay, which are largely made up of wood. Then you have got people gathering fruits, nuts, medicines from the forest. Also, their cattle graze in the forest areas, or they feed their cattle from the fodder, which is got from the forest. Okay, so these are the people who are living in and around forest. They are the first stakeholders. Now we go to the second stakeholder, that is the forest department. Okay, now this forest department, after the British rule, okay, the Indian government, they started so that the exploitation does not take place. The forest department in independent India, okay, that overtook from the British, but the local knowledge and local needs continued to be included. Even if you have got forest department, they are not that much aware how much the local, what they need from the forest and all. Okay, in this management practices. So they have been, what they have done is they have converted the vast tracts of forests into monocultures. Okay, like of monocultures of pine, teak, eucalyptus. So for doing this, they have again cleared the huge areas of forest. Thus, this destroys a large amount of biodiversity. When you want to grow this monocultures, you have to clear the trees. This will help the forest department to get revenue, but the local people, the leaves for the food, for the herbs for the medicines, fruits, nut, they can no longer be met from such forest. You cannot get anything from these pine forest or teak forest or eucalyptus forest. Okay, so such plantations are not useful. They are only useful for the industries. Okay, so that is one thing which they have to consider this, or they only consider for the revenue of the forest department. Now we go to the third stakeholder, that are the industries. Okay, now these industries, they merely consider forest as a source of raw materials. Their only interest is to access these raw materials at an low rates. Okay, now these industries have got greater reach than the local people because they are rich. So the local people, they cannot get the raw materials directly, but the industry, those who are owning the industry, they have got the access more than these local people. Okay, but these people, those who are running the industry, they are not interested in sustaining the forest of one particular area. For example, once they use these all teak trees in a particular area, they will go to some other area. Okay, so they do not have any stake in ensuring that one particular area with an optimum amount of produce. Okay, so if this happens, what will happen to the people who are locally staying there? Okay, now the last stakeholders are the conservatives, the natural and the wildlife enthusiastic. Those who are conserving the forest, they initially take up the large animals like lions, tigers, elephants, rhinoceros, and they go on conserving them. But they should know that they have to preserve the whole biodiversity, not only some species of animals. Okay, for examples, the local people who are working there traditionally for conserving the forest. Okay, for example, there is one community known as Bishnoi's community in western Rajasthan, that is on the border of the Thar desert. Okay, now these work very sincerely for conserving the forest and wildlife, because it's a religious tenet for them. Okay, now these are the nature loving people who are really staying there, and they conserve the flora and fauna to an extent. Okay, but those who are enthusiastic, they are not doing that. They only conserve some animals, some plants. Okay, now government of India, what they have done is they have given us this Amrita Devi Bishnoi National Award for wildlife conservation in the memory of this Amrita Devi Bishnoi, who in 1734 sacrificed her life along with 363 other villagers. Okay, that is for protection of Kejri trees in Kejriali village. This is near Jodhpur in Rajasthan. So she sacrificed her life just for protecting these trees. Okay, so the government has declared the wildlife conservation award in her name. Okay, now what happens, there is one more example, that you have got a great Himalayan national park which contains reserved area alpine meadows which were first grazed by sheep in summer. Now what has happened, once you have conserved this area, the sheep are not allowed inside this area. Because the sheep are not allowed in this area, what has happened is the grass, okay, it goes on growing taller and taller, and then it again dries and falls off in the same area, and this prevents the fresh growth. So grazing of sheep should be allowed to maintain the national park, but this is what is not been understood. Okay, so management of the protected areas by keeping the local people out or by forcing them out, this is not going to be possible successful in long run. Okay, so deforestation caused by industrial needs, development project like building roads, dams, all these. Okay, then the damages caused by the tourists, all these arrangements which are done for our convenience. Okay, they also should be considered so that the damage is not done further. Okay, the forest resources ought to be used in such a manner that this environmentally and developmentally both should be sound, both should go together. We cannot only look at environment, nor we can only look at for the development. Okay, so the environment should be preserved, but the benefits and the controlled exploitation of the local people should be stopped. Okay, so decentralizing the economic growth and ecological conservation, both of them should go hand in hand. Okay, so the only collection of plants, only some plants to be collected and preserved should be stopped. Okay, so we should consider that we meet our economic plus social growth when you are thinking about forest conservation. Thank you.